Hello everyone, I'm Lauren Valdez, and this video is about how do you come up with an idea to apply for the Clinton Global Initiative program. So I'm an alumni of the program. I did it in 2009. I had such an incredible experience doing the program that now 10 years later, I am a mentor for the program and I love encouraging people to apply for it. You will create a huge social network. You'll also have lots of access to resources through the program, like a mentor like me, and you'll be supported for a year in trying to take an idea and make it into reality. And you'll be surrounded by a cohort of amazing, brilliant people who are all trying to improve the world and address climate change and eradicate poverty and all this stuff. So it's such an awesome program. So I highly encourage people to apply. And something I hear from people is that, oh, I don't have an idea. I don't know what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm here to tell you that you definitely can apply for this program. And this video is to help you come up with an idea based on your experiences, what you're interested in, and where you want to go in the future. And I know there's issues you're passionate about in the world, so we're going to try to untap some of those things today so that you can apply for this program and get some of the benefits of it. If you're here watching this video, then you should already know what CGIU is, but if not, I'll give you a quick recap. The Clinton Global Initiative University is a program run by the Clinton Foundation that particularly supports college students in undergrad or grad school anywhere in the world with transforming an idea to a commitment to action. A commitment to action is a solution to tackle any sort of pressing local or global problem. Through this program, you are given a curriculum, a mentor, and you're in a year-long cohort where you're supported by the CGIU staff and mentors in carrying out your commitment to action. There's also an annual conference hosted by Bill and Chelsea Clinton with lots of speakers and things on topics, lots of experts talking about pressing challenges that are happening globally and solutions and how to work together and collaboratively to solve really hard problems like poverty and climate change. This program has been around for 11 years and over 10,000 students have participated in the program from over 150 countries. The first step in creating a really great commitment to action to apply with is to start with you. We want to start by thinking about the things you're good at, the things you like to do, the problems that are impacting you, the problems that you care about. And that's going to be the best way to come up with a commitment to action that is one you care about and that you can make a commitment to trying to address over the next year. And I just want to give you a personal example. When I went through the program in 2009, my commitment to action was based on a project that I was working on in Bolivia during my senior year of college. That was a great project I did. It was part of my thesis. It was really interesting. I learned a lot, but it was also not that sustainable because I'm not from Bolivia, even though I have Latino heritage, and I wasn't that committed to it. So it was a project I did one time and then I never followed up. And I want to compare that with a different project I started right after graduating college. I worked with some friends on a community blog that talked about issues impacting our own community. That blog has been going for more than 10 years because we have a commitment to it, because all of us who work on that project are working on something that impacts our local community, where we grew up, where our grandparents still live. And so we have a lot of commitment to trying to tackle and address the issues in our own local community. And I'm not suggesting that you need to do something that is happening in your community, but what I'm suggesting is that you focus on an issue that you care about, that impacts you, where you have the best ability to make a difference. So to do that, we're going to start with this exercise. It's called an ikigai. This is an adapted version of this Japanese exercise called an ikigai, which means the reason for being. And I've adapted it a little bit so we can think about how do we find the right intersection of all the pieces of you to develop a good idea for CGIU. So you want to start by drawing these 4 circles on a piece of paper. First, I want you to answer, what do you love? What are the things you love doing? Do you love listening to people? Do you love helping others? Do you love volunteering, working with youth? What are the things you love doing? Then ask yourself, what are you good at? What are all of the things that you are uniquely good at that you know you do better than other people? That might be being really caring and compassionate. That might be leading workshops. That might be developing presentations, or maybe you're good with technology. Whatever it is, write down what you're good at. Then I want you to ask, what does the world need? What are some of the problems and challenges you see in the world right now that you care about based on your experience? That might be something as big as climate change or mental health issues, or it might be something a lot more local and rooted to something you're experiencing right now. Maybe you are a woman in STEM and something you recognize is that there's not enough women in your STEM classes, in your engineering classes, and maybe you define that as something the world needs, is more women in STEM. That can be an issue. So really look closely at your life at every scale, from the micro to the macro, to list out what are the things the world needs. And then in this bottom circle, I want you to list out, where do you want to go in life? This can be in the next year, in the next 5 years, in the next 30 years. Do you want to go to med school? Do you want to go on to have a career in public service? Do you want to one day own your own business? Do you want to one day live in a different country? Whatever it is, write down all of your dreams for where you want to go in life. Once you've done that, look at what you've written down across all of these circles and start to notice what stands out to you. Is there something that you can identify as something that links between all these circles? I did this exercise with a student who was a pre-med student, and she had experience leading meditation workshops. And she was from Thailand, and something she really saw the world needed were better mechanisms for coping with death. And she came up with this project idea for combining meditation, combining what she was good at, which was listening to people and leading meditation workshops, with supporting people who are dealing with death in their family or around them, and giving them tools for being able to cope. And then once she came up with that idea, we started breaking it down into more specifics. Like, okay, what would this look like on campus? Where could she start providing tools and support on campus for people who may be dealing with someone dying while they're in school, trying to finish finals and trying to do a bunch of other things? So we started mapping out, okay, who would you need to talk to? Who would you need to partner with? How would you reach these students? What would the workshop look like? That sort of thing. So look at these circles, see what stands out to you as a unique mix of the things that align with what you care about and where you want to go in life, and something the world needs, and start to develop an idea that can become your commitment to action. When you fill out the application for CGIU, you fill out what is called your commitment to action. And this is a specific, new, and measurable initiative that you are taking on to address a pressing challenge within one of CGIU's focus areas. And these areas include education, environment and climate change, peace and human rights, poverty alleviation, and public health. And so with the idea you just came up with, how can you make it fit into one of these categories? And these categories are very broad. So that example I just gave you about the student who came up with an idea about supporting people dealing with death, that can fit under the category of public health, because she is providing a support that is helping people cope and dealing with some mental health problems while they're coping with death and being able to stay on top of their own lives while they're grieving. So you can think about the idea you just came up with and see what box or what category would it fall under here. And all the commitment to action is an opportunity to translate practical goals into meaningful and measurable results. So you may have a goal like, I want to reduce climate change. That's a really big goal. So what would be the specific, measurable, actionable thing that you do that helps move you towards that goal? Now let's get into how to make your idea more specific, tangible, and measurable. So the next thing you want to do is you want to start to research the problem and the community need. So whatever idea you have, start to do some reading and talk to people about the idea you have. Try to understand what's the underlying context around the problem. Like, how did it come to be? Who's impacted? What are the actual needs of the people who are impacted? And then you want to identify partners and supporters and really think about the potential stakeholders in this issue, people who are involved. There may be key organizations or politicians or people who are already trying to address this issue. You want to have a sense of what they've done and what maybe hasn't been done, or there may be opportunities for you to partner with them on the work you want to do. And then you want to get more specific and start identifying actions. You want to be able to identify the intended impact and outcomes of your commitment to action. And finally, the last thing you want to do is come to office hours with me. There's a link below where I will review your application and give you feedback on what you have. So let's dive into these things a little bit more in depth. So you want to start with topic and population research. You need to be able to describe the context. What is the issue? Who does it impact? How big is it? And in your CGIU application, this is really what goes under the section called challenge, where you describe what is the challenge that you see that needs to be addressed. You also need to be able to describe, why is this issue important? If it's a really big pressing issue like climate change, there's a lot of data and evidence and science around what's happening and what needs to be addressed. If it's something that's a little bit more obscure, like the student's idea of supporting people who are dealing with death while they're at college, there may not be a lot of data on that, but it's still important because she's dealt with it personally. There's people when they're dealing with something like that while in school and having to take finals and all of that stuff, it's really hard and there aren't many resources for them. And so she's really making a case for why this is important for people to have access to these kinds of resources while they're at school. Then when you're describing the context, you really want to look into when and where does this issue take place? What is the scale or the geography you're talking about? Is this an issue that is impacting just your university campus, or is this something that is impacting university students across campuses in your state or in your country or in your region? Or is this an issue that's impacting people locally in your community, like in your hometown or in your state or in your country? You want to be able to talk about the specific geography and scale in which you are looking at this issue. You want to start to dig into who are the key stakeholders, who is impacted, who are the leaders doing work in this space, who are the key organization, that sort of thing. So let's get into this a little bit more deeply. So you want to start talking to everyone you know about your idea. You can talk to professors, TAs, GSIs about your idea, and they may be able to give you some ideas for things to read or people to talk to or ways to think about the challenge that you're looking at. You can also talk to local organizations who may be doing work in this space. You can talk to friends, coworkers, friends of friends, your social media network, Uber drivers, your family. You can really talk to anyone about this issue to start getting a sense for, how do people see this issue? Is this something that actually impacts people around you? Do other people have ideas that they can give you for ways to think about solving and addressing this issue? Another really important piece of the CGIU application is to define the actions and the outcomes. And something they're looking to see is, how is this a new idea or a new solution? And this doesn't have to be some brand new innovative thing that no one's ever tried. You might just be the first one filling a gap, doing something that hasn't been done in that specific place or with that specific community. So for example, say your campus does not have a recycling program and you decide, you know what, I'm gonna start a recycling program on my campus. Although recycling isn't new, bringing a recycling program to an area that doesn't have it is something that is new. They're also looking to see that your commitment is specific. So you really want to define who is your target audience and what you're going to do in a specific amount of time. So here's an example. you will partner with your campus sustainability department to implement a recycling program. So that sounds really specific because you're naming who you're going to be working with, and then you can start getting into the specifics of how it's going to be done over 1 year. So maybe that's you start with outreach, you start recruiting volunteers, and then you have to sit down and have meetings with various departments to start getting buy-in from your campus community, all that sort of thing. They want to see you be as specific as possible. How are you going to do this? A really great way to think about it is to start breaking things down into a timeline. Like months 1 to 3, I will do this. Months 3 to 6, I will do this. Months 6 to 9, you get the picture. And in there, you describe what are the actions you're actually going to take to move forward on that program. And it doesn't have to be this huge, giant thing. It could be something like, by the end of the year, I'm going to host workshops on X, Y, and Z to bring awareness on X, Y, and Z on my campus. Like, it could be something as simple as that, but it needs to be specific and concrete. And finally, you want your commitment to action to be measurable. The example here is that you might say, oh, we're going to reduce single-use plastics on campus by 30% in 2020. But you also want to think about metrics in terms of tracking. Like, you might track how many people are impacted by your program. Like, if you're that example of workshops, you can say, oh, we will have 200 people go through my workshops, or we will partner with 10 different local high schools for this program to execute it, or we will recruit 20 volunteers to work on this. That is something specific and measurable that shows that you are making progress towards your bigger goal. So with that, you can now get started working on your application. Just a reminder that the final deadline is November 4th, 2019. And you can find a lot more application materials at cgiu.org/apply. And then I'm also hosting office hours where you can come show me your application and I will give you feedback. And you can find the link to my office hours below.